I call our meeting to order on our agenda of August the 2nd. But before we begin, I'd like us to take a moment and reflect on the events of yesterday. They were very sad for our county. And let's take a moment of silence, if we could. Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be Commissioner Antonio Williams, the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Freeman Hardison. Any adjustments on the agenda?
There are some walk-on budget amendments, and you've got a packet for those that I've passed out separately.
I got a question.
Packet look like a book.
Yes,
Bookkeeping.
Commissioner Gurley.
Are we going to discuss the hours of operation? We ain't today, okay.
We were waiting a memo from him to put that on the agenda.
I got you. Yes, sir.
And Mr. Chair, there's nothing from the appointment committee this morning.
No, nothing on the appointment committee. So we can eliminate the appointment committee. We can strike that. Any other adjustments? We will be having a closed session today. Okay, and then we'll proceed on. Mr. Crumpler.
Special presentations, we'll have the employee service pins, number one. Number two will be a presentation by the Wayne County ABC Board Business Manager, David Austin. Number three will be a presentation by Jordan Theron, the 4-H NCACC Youth Voice Conference attendee. And number four will be an update on the Wayne Community College by Dr. Pfeiffer. Then on to the consent agenda, and we have item number one, which is our application for elderly or disabled exclusions. Yeah, I was gonna say, you're gonna show them.
Is there anything that we, out of the ordinary on those?
They've all been reviewed and they seem in order.
Okay.
Number two, we have applications for disabled veterans exclusions. Those have all been verified and submitted accordingly. And then number three is our applications for present use value, and those have been approved, reviewed by the tax office. And then we'll turn it on to item number four, which will be budget amendments.
Okay. Your first budget amendment is number 30 for the Economic Development Department line item. We are asking to transfer funds. It's really a reallocation from their existing line items to pay for the Southeastern Partnership dues and subscriptions. Your next budget amendment is for 911 restricted funds. So these are the funds that are approved by the state. We are requesting to increase the amount of service and maintenance contracts by $29,861. They did originally anticipate a certain amount to be covered by the 911 funds, and then found out later that they would actually cover more than what was anticipated. And there is fund balance in that Fund 225 that's restricted just for this. So it's not general fund balance, it's just monies for these purposes.
That's odd that the 911 board actually
We'll take it, won't we?
increased
We'll take it. Your next budget amendment is for services on aging, a total of $5,979. This is an increase in the grant funds for the Family Caregiver Support Program for the fiscal year. You have another budget amendment for services on aging. This is a decrease in the Eastern Carolina Council funds, HCCBG, in the amount of $2,381. And these are pass-through funds. Your next budget amendment is for the detention center totaling $21,507. They are reallocating these funds from repairs and maintenance equipment to service and maintenance contracts. This is just to do a better accounting of that particular line item and putting it in a separate line item. You have a budget amendment for the detention center for the SCAP program, and they are requesting to reallocate $6,151.86 to professional services. This will be used to provide assistance in receiving the grant funds, and it is an eligible expenditure under that grant. Okay, your next budget amendment is for controlled substance tax monies in the amount of $3,445.50. And then if you all are okay with it, I'll go to the packet that you physically have. The first one being number 419. This budget amendment is totaling $20 million. This is to record the receipt of grant revenues from the state. This was a state-directed grant for Rosewood Middle School. We're allocating it to capital outlay buildings, and then once we do receive final budget for this, we will reallocate it as we need to for architect fees and things like that.
So we have not actually received that as yet, have we?
We did receive it, so we're just budgeting for the receipt of it, and then it'll sit there and earn interest in its own fund until it's spent down.
Have we heard anything in regards to the progress
I
on the
will.
Rosewood School?
I can forward you we have to provide quarterly updates on this as part of the grant receipt, and so I can forward you the latest correspondence I received from the school zone if you'd like me to.
That'd be great, too.
Okay.
If you'd send that to all the board.
Okay, sure. All right, your next budget amendment is also for the receipt of grant funds. So this budget amendment is reversing a prior budget amendment done for the Mobile Command Center. It was done in December. You all approved that purchase for $902,965. That was done in December, and at that time, we had not received yet the $500,000 from the state, and we were not sure if ARP funds would let us cover the remainder. And so we appropriated the difference from fund balance. So what this budget is doing is basically reversing all of that, putting the $500,000 that we ended up receiving after that from the state in a separate fund. It's required to be accounted for in a separate fund for the state grant. And then we are appropriating the difference from ARP funds, which we have since learned is an eligible use of those funds. And the Mobile Command Center was procured according to UG guidelines, so that is an eligible expenditure that we can spend those ARP funds on. And when the budget amendment was done in December, it was decided that if we could use ARP funds, that the board would be okay with that. So that's what this budget amendment is doing.
The question has arisen, if that being the case, if it's eligible expense, could we use the ARP funds on a later budget amendment in regards to the radios?
No, sir, because that one was not procured according to UG guidelines. And so it is an eligible expenditure, but anything that's eligible has to be procured according to federal guidelines. And so that one was not, so we are not able to use ARP funds for that particular piece of it.
Okay, thank you.
Your next budget amendment is for the Fremont Elementary School project. It's small, it's for $352. This is really just to make sure our budget is in line as of June 30, when the audit is done. This was for a title search that was done, and so it was done, and then we just need to budget for it. It'll be reimbursed through the debt proceeds because we're getting ready to close on that in the next couple of weeks. So you'll see a budget amendment in the next few weeks that pays ourselves back for that. Okay, your next budget amendment, you've got probably a thicker packet on that. You'll see a voided budget amendment behind it. So this was a budget amendment that was done a few weeks ago, moving the reserves that you all designated for debt service for the 21-22 fiscal year to a capital reserve fund. I wasn't comfortable with it after the fact. I just kept thinking that maybe I should look into it a little bit further. The language in the general statutes is not clear about whether you can transfer debt service money to a capital reserve fund and then pull it back out for debt service. You can certainly use it for capital. So I reached out to LGC, and they are not sure that you can do that either. It's just kind of ambiguous in the language. So I've spoken with our auditor, and what we've instead decided to do is put it in a separate fund still, but it will be a part of the general fund, completely separate, earning its own interest. And then that way, we do not get tied up with any requirements regarding those monies. And so I just think this is a more flexible use of where to store those funds until we're ready to put it on debt service.
Okay, any questions on that?
Okay, your next budget amendment is, was referenced a few minutes ago for the Mobile Command Center. This is for the radio equipment that is needed for that project, totaling $160,000. We are requesting to appropriate funds that the sheriff's office received in the amount of $84,270 to use towards this project. This was funds that all sheriff's office received towards like their general operations, things like that. But he has offered to use this towards the purchase of the radios, and then the difference coming from the general fund balance in the amount of $75,730. This will be a one-time use, and so I'm comfortable with that appropriation.
So if he comes up $84,000 short at the end of the year, we ain't gonna hear no lip from nobody, right? I'm just asking a question. I mean, he's doing something that, he's using his money for something that he didn't actually get the grant for us. It might have been for radios, but it wasn't for the radio system. I'm just asking, just making a statement, one asking a question.
Okay. The last budget amendment I have for you is titled Representative Payee Funds. This is a requirement that began as of June 30 of 2021. We presented a similar budget amendment to you last year as well. It's from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB 84. It is requiring certain activities that were typically held in what we called a fiduciary fund that was not budgeted to now be accounted for in budgeted funds. We really didn't have any choice or flexibility in the matter. These monies are paid in and then in turn paid back out. The county does not contribute any funds to it. And so we are tracking those separately, and we do now have to budget for them where we did not 2 years ago. So that is what this budget amendment does. There's two accounts: the DSS trust account for activity on behalf of DSS clients, and then the second account is for the sheriff's writs account, their activities. I think it's where judgments are issued on individuals. Those judgments are collected and then in turn paid out to the clerk of court and things like that.
How did you arrive at these dollar amounts?
Well, that's why you're not getting a budget amendment until the end. We have no idea because it's not money we control. So what we've been doing is just waiting till the end of the year like this and appropriating whatever came in.
So this is truly up last year's budget?
Well, it's actually for 21-22, yes. All of these actually are to clean up 21-22 so we can close the books out in the next couple weeks.
Okay. Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Moving on to number 5, it's a motion to approve the Settlers Point subdivision, Section 5, final plat as recommended by the Wayne County Planning Board.
Good morning.
All right, this is, as mentioned, it is a final plat with 47 lots. This subdivision is off of Big Daddy's Road. If you're familiar with the intersection of Antioch, you just keep going a little ways. It's on the right. It's actually behind the existing phases of Settlers Point, and you can access it through Settlers Point and Nahunta Creek, which is right down, so it'll be 2 access points into the back of this subdivision. The average lot size is 23,358 square feet. All the improvements are in, so the roads are constructed, hydrants are in, so they're ready to go with construction for homes at this point. We do have a built-to-standards letter from DOT basically stating that the roads do meet minimum construction standards, and the planning board has reviewed this plat and does recommend approval. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Is this a new area, or is there already existing homes there, Barry?
There are already existing homes in
Okay.
that area.
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, any other questions?
Number 6 is a motion to approve the Kendall Farms subdivision preliminary plat as recommended by the Wayne County Planning Board.
Okay. Yeah, this is a preliminary plat, so this is the first of the process. So there are no improvements in place at this point. This is just their process to get approved so they can move forward with their detailed construction and planning work before they finalize things. But this is, they're proposing 84 lots. This is on New Hope Road. It is actually just west of Eastern Wayne High School on the north side, same side of New Hope Road as the high school. It is zoned RA20, so the required minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. So they do meet that requirement. The average lot size is 21,951 square feet, which is about half an acre. And with this subdivision, the planning board has reviewed and does recommend approval for this one as well. And I'll be glad to answer any questions on that.
Back into, who's the developer on that?
This one, it's ENC Investment Holdings. Pull up their application.
Can't put a dollar on the land.
Yeah, I don't, that's the reason I'm asking the question. But this is just preliminary, so things can change before we get to it, correct?
That's right. They're out of Greenville, Red Banks Road in Greenville.
I did have a question in regards to, there's 79 lots, is that correct? No, 83 lots.
Well, there's actually 84.
84
The
lot.
84th lot is actually a roadfront lot. It is to the, it's right down the road. It's the furthest north on the New Hope Road. It's actually kind of on its own. There's a tract of land owned by Jacqueline Hickman, a little property there on New Hope Road, and it's just to the left or to the north of that.
That's where the buildings and old house and stuff, they just.
Yeah, but that 84 is actually going to be bought by the Hickmans, and it's going to be combined in with their property. So 84 actually, when they come in later and do the final plat, will actually end up being eliminated and combined in with the neighboring property. So that roadfront lot will actually disappear at some point.
Yeah, my question is, the secondary access. Is there a secondary access?
There's not. The secondary access isn't required until they get to 100 lots.
Oh, that's right, it is 100.
But they do have stub outs that they're proposing, especially the one to the north is the most viable. So if that property developed or they ever extended, they could circle that back around and possibly connect back into New Hope Road for a second access if it's ever extended.
Okay. Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Barry. Moving on to 7, it's the motion to approve the recommendation for bi-weekly payroll transition date. Back over to Allison.
Yes, sir. So there is a memo in your agenda packet that is presenting a transition date of April 1st, 2023 to transition to biweekly payroll. We have had discussions with our bank, benefits broker, software company, and our auditor. And of course, looked at the calendar, wanted to make sure we allowed for plenty of time to educate employees, answer questions they may have, and assist them in any way we can. And April 1st was the best date that we felt like would give us time to do all of that. And it would also give some space after the holidays so that we were not affecting people right there at Christmas or anything like that. So April 1st is what we are recommending.
Question,
Yes, sir.
is that gonna put too much on the staff? Because you're gonna be working on budget at that time.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. We have talked about that. I think I think most of the work will be handled a couple of months ahead of that. And so before we get too thick into budget, we will be transitioning. And so our payroll team is typically not super heavily involved in budget. They are some, but we think we've come up with a plan to divide and conquer. But thank you for asking.
Okay. Any other questions? Next, we'll have public comments, county manager's report, board of commissioners, committee reports and comments. We are having a tour of the new EMS ambulance outside the courthouse on Ormond Street. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We will be having a closed session. And can we go into closed session now and address some of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of?
Going to talk to your lawyers to preserve attorney-client privilege and to discuss the negotiation of possible land purchase.
Okay, we have a motion to go into closed session. All those in favor of going into closed session signify by raising your right hand. Okay, we're in closed session. Okay, we're out of closed session, and so at this point, we will be in recess until 9.